Meeting to order, 10:25. Thank you all for joining us in person and on Google Meets, taking time out of your Saturday. So just a quick chairman report that I have. I've heard some comments in town about the Beecher Building Committee so just to clear it up, the Beecher Building Committee that we serve on is only for Beecher School. It has nothing to do with the Beecher apartment complex being proposed on Beecher Road across from the school. So, and then we've been, for those of you that have come to the concerts on the green the past Tuesdays, we've had a table there, had people come visit us. We'll be there for the next 2 Saturdays, so come visit us there as well. So. Tuesdays, sorry, I said Saturday and Tuesdays. Okay, the consent agenda that was sent out, can I have a motion to approve? Second? Okay, any discussion on it? All in favor? Okay, so moved. Review of the newsletter. So we have the newsletter.
Draft. Working
Draft, yes.
Working draft.
You want me to
Yeah,
talk a little bit about
please.
it?
Yep.
This newsletter, remember we've been probably in 3 of them. This one is more very factual. First one's kind of laying the groundwork. This one gets into much more information. Also, it's going to be driven to the website with more detail. So the more they want, so I have my web quotes here, whatever you want afterwards, that we have to address in further detail in the finances, whatever. We have those links already built into this thing. And so when we did, I worked with Stephen on this one, with some input from Maria. We just wanted to rehash the future plan for the big roads. So it's kind of, we always have to remind people why we're doing this now. Some general overview, what it is, the state reimburses. You can't assume people know what this is all about and all the details. And so what we want to do is kind of treat these newsletters like Q&As. So there's a statement up front, why now, where we're planning to build it. I'm going to hopefully ask the architect as we get a little further into this, that we get a little better site map. But this was pulled from the slide deck from the architect, which for now is fine. It shows that it's on the same site, it's being located there. It'd be good to get some schematics, what a classroom might look like and such like that, but it does have kind of a generic, even though we don't have a design, there's still some generic photos you show a classroom, basically full of kids or what we have plans going on. And I think that would be, the third newsletter would be much more visual. And so if we can refine this, it'd be good. But for now, I think this is fine. It explains where it's going to be. What's the cost? This is probably the major component of the newsletter, which is broken down between what the town has to pay and what the state is reimbursing, and emphasizing this is a pretty good return of investment from the state, given the wealth of the community. And showing a pie chart is probably a better way to do this, instead of showing the slide deck. The architect did, getting into that kind of minutia, that's also being posted again on the website. That slide deck is also posted. So you cannot be accused that, completely being transparent here. But for purposes of people reading this, this kind of breaks down and shows, why this is a really good value. From all my experience, given the most of you, I've never seen any kind of reimbursement from the state at this level. But whatever the reason's going to do it, and make sure your project works out fine. And then it goes into, from the previous presentation, the long-term debt service and so forth. And I asked, making sure your finance director just goes through these numbers to make sure they're accurate in terms of what's coming, because those numbers might have changed. If they're fine, at this point, then we can use them. But this was based on the June 23rd presentation that he did. And so I just suggest go through these numbers really carefully. Because there's going to be some people out there, as you know, are going to go look at every line of this and they're going to, say, what does that number mean? Where'd that come from? So you have to be able to answer it, or someone has to be able to answer all these statistics, all this information. I think this will be the guts of this would be an average, so people know they can look up and down the value of their home. People can easily go online and figure out what the current value of their home is. It's not the tax assessment, it's not the 70% of what a home is worth. This would be based on a retail value.
Well,
Someone might be able to, what their home is valued at, not what the town taxes at.
The newsletter says median assessed home value.
Did you hear
So
that?
we just gotta make it clear, this is.
Ira,
Yes,
did you hear Maria's question?
what, Maria, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
That's okay. The newsletter says median assessed home value.
So implies.
So that implies what the assessment is, not the retail value.
Okay.
And the online calculator will be based on the assessed value as well.
Okay, it says value, all right, so let's just leave it that way. We can put in parentheses, based upon 70%, this is what a retail. I always think it's good to put that higher number in. But if you don't wanna do it, it's your call. So you can put in parentheses, this is based upon a market value of X amount of dollars. If you wanna put it in, so it shows people, this is, oh, my home is worth a lot more than this, that's why I always say, these numbers kind of count. But, I hear you, so, we can obviously get, you know, if we know what you're taxing at 70%, we know it's gonna be 30% more. And that's based on the current.
I think that's confusing.
Yeah, the online calculator that we may be able to get up on the website is gonna be based on assessed value with a
Okay.
link to how to find their assessed value.
Yeah, if we can.
So I think we
put
should
that
just keep
in.
the language all the same.
Yeah, that's fine, one way or another, because I've done this before, and people look at it, so I always worth a lot more than that. They don't read it, they don't look at assessed values, I mean, you guys do, and I might do it, but just make it so and say, this is assessed value, you know, here, go here, how we calculate it. And you don't even have to put the number in, and they can put that link in parentheses, or at the end of it. Yeah, I'm sorry, I misinterpreted it there. I don't know what I did, because I know what you put assessed value, but, from doing these in the past, this is where questions come in. People would know the difference between assessed value from the town versus what they think are, you know, a market value is. Then the next thing is, I put this in, and I don't know if this holds up, Marie, you sent this to me. I think it's good to show that all the different groups are working together in the town, what their roles and responsibility. I never did this one before, but I think it's a really good education tool to show.
It's up on the
And if
website.
this is correct or kind of be modified, please do it. I suggest putting it in, so it shows that the town, all the departments, elected and appointed people are working together.
I think he has the last version.
Yeah, so I think that's like a sort of a work in progress, and it's up on the website.
I'm looking just more as kind of as a combination of information and creating, I don't want to call it PR, but it shows that there's no silos. That, in other words, who's running the show? You know, this is how we work together. And so, I've never, did this one before, but I loved it and thought about it. I just want you guys to consider putting it in. You have to modify it, as you can say, as of now, or we can modify the statement that we, that we all work together, as our different departments and so forth. Because most people, they know the building committee has an overall charge, but they also work within this information network. So there's good communication and coordination. This is just adds that level of transparency we talk about. So just let me know. I still think it's a good idea, but it has to be modified a little bit. I mean, we have time obviously to do that, but my suggestion is to think about it. And again, as we did a shorter summary, Stephen kind of edited down my part of it about the survey. This is a link, they can go read what was presented when I presented the survey file. We don't need to put that all in.
Right.
This is just a highlight, here's what they want, here's what people want to get. Anything beyond that is just, overkill. And again, the website's designed for all the transparency. If you want to read the whole report, here.
So Ira, there's two things. the first is that I owe, you and Stephen some revised dates for the meeting schedule for those, so we can add those in. There's a placeholder here for it, but, the Board of Selectmen sort of changed, their meeting date in August, so I just wanna make sure we have the updated. And the other is the project timeline, that we're putting together, but there was a place for it, so we can just fill in, some more of the timeline. But, one of the things that came up yesterday afternoon, that we have to find some way of communicating to the town, because it is, it's a little bit complicated and not everybody might realize it, is, the referendum process. And after meeting with the attorneys and meeting with the bond counsel, here, I think are going to have to find a way to start explaining this to people. The referendum does not have to pass by 60% on the first try, it's 2/3, which is 66%. And in the history of our town, there has not been a first referendum that has ever passed by the 2/3 threshold. The last school building committee passed by 62%, and they put it through because they thought it was 60, but according to our attorney, that should never have happened. It should have gone to a second referendum. Because the threshold in the charter is 2/3, which is 66%, not 60. So this is absolutely going to have to go to referendum twice. Because nothing has ever passed by greater than, yeah.
We can pray to the gods and think we can all climb Mount Everest, but I get the picture here.
Right.
But I
So
would,
wait, can I just?
be honest, I would save it for the Thursday newsletter.
I think it's something that I think even people that have been active in this town for a while aren't even gonna realize. And I think we have to start communicating to people that there are going to be 2 referendums. Also because the second referendum is gonna happen in the middle of early voting for the election. And that is going to be incredibly complicated. And so I think the earlier we can start communicating to people, the better, and we're gonna have to put this timeline together.
After Labor Day, don't do it now. What's important is still getting out the
That's
base
something
level
we're gonna have to
information.
discuss.
And dealing with the specifics, would say, here folks, what we need to do, here's what's gonna happen. You can talk about it, but what will happen in the newsletter, if we put that all in, it doesn't really tie to what I think we wanna get for this newsletter.
Well, it ties to the timeline.
Just a suggestion.
Yeah, it ties to the timeline. And I think, for clarity, I would like this newsletter to have all the future meetings in it and the whole timeline in it. And that is gonna be, the referendum process is going to be a huge part of this timeline.
And
To
what we can
communicate.
say is that more detail will be on the next newsletter. We can put something in here, but I'm trying to keep this to a 4-pager. And if we have to go over, then we have to get to Q&A stuff. And I'm just looking in terms of communication, in terms of staging, that I know that information is important, and believe me, I'm not trying to minimize it. The issue is, we should treat it as a separate item and a separate newsletter. Here's what's gonna happen. We can't get people to support it if they can't even get through, we have to get them through this information. And once you start throwing this at it, you're saying, even though we have to address it, it's just gonna add just another layer of, I think, confusion.
I wonder if there's, cause this is new news, and holy majoli. Hey Ira, how are you?
How you doing?
Good. We should have done the 2014 project, the way we did. Yikes.
That vote did not pass. It did not reach a 2/3 threshold.
Wow. So I will say, Ira, I 100% agree that we don't want to go into the weeds on this, but I wonder if we can say, technically, as I think about this, in my first 2 seconds of thought, is basically we have to say, we need to do 2 votes where at least 50% of voters say they approve this. Can we simply say that in this newsletter so that it's not, we're potentially proposing this box on the top where it's like, here's the date of the referendum. That's what we thought we were at 60%. We're like, we've got a shot at this.
Yeah.
It was 66, yeah.
Then I would suggest that makes sense.
But I wonder if we use that box, we don't even necessarily put the date, we say there will be, approving a new building will require two votes.
One vote of 2/3, which is 66%, or 2 votes at greater than 50.
Okay, so
Yeah,
the
but I-
second one just has to be at 50.
Yes, it's the first
So the first one
referendum,
has to be a 50
it doesn't.
or greater to begin with.
To get to the
To
second
get to
one.
the second one.
Okay.
Yeah, and I guess what I'm wondering is, we can go into the weeds on that on the website, but would we be reasonable to just say, we need that, because of our town charter, we need to get at least 50% of the vote 2 times within 2 weeks of each other for this to pass? Cause I just think conceptually, I can wrap my head around, that's our arcane charter versus, well, if we get 66% this time, and then if we get 50% that time, it's like, no, basically you gotta have a majority both times in order to pass, that's the bottom line. You know, cause if you get less than 50% on the first vote, you don't have a second vote.
Right.
So, is that a simpler way potentially of conveying this, just so it's in people's head, like, we're gonna need you to, you're gonna need to vote twice, cause, I mean, I would love if we hit 66% and canceled the second one, but,
It's never happened.
it's never happened. I mean, 62% was remarkable, and people talk about that all the time, like how amazing and, and how overwhelming the support was, and that was 62%. And we didn't actually hit the threshold.
Well, I think you can also use it as, in terms of getting the vote out on the first time, letting people know what the threshold is, and that can be dealt with in terms of outreach. That can be a pack group, individuals going around. We have a crazy town charter, has 66%, but we want you to go vote yes. That could be used in terms of a campaign. But I think what you're saying, Stephen, makes sense. And I would put that then within the introductory copy that you wrote.
Yeah, just literally in that box at the top, like, so it's like, if we can do it in one sentence, like, here's the heads up, so that it's also not, so we're not getting to the end of the summer where people are like, oh, and I'm just hearing about this,
Right.
Yeah.
We also have to change under what will it cost, with, here, 2/3 or 66%. Because it was a
Right.
statement about the referendum,
Mhm.
maybe we can reiterate that same one sentence
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
So create the sentence, we'll stick it in there, and, cause that really satisfies that, according to town charter, that's the way it should probably be written, Stephen. And we can't make any opinion about it, but that's what the town charter says.
Yeah.
That, we have to have a 50% vote turnout twice.
Yep.
And then
Which,
you can
I mean, in
explain
some
later
respects,
on,
isn't
we
a
can
bad
put it
thing.
in- you can then
It
put
seems
in
easier to
whatever
do,
language
as
in the
long as you
website, say,
convince people
why we're
vote
doing
twice.
this, we then could put it in the website.
Yeah, no, and I mean, and in a sense, as far as sort of, I mean, as much as I'm like, oh gosh, I wish it were just 50% on the first go-round, it really will, if both of these pass, if that's the decision of the town voters, it does show there's true majority support, by people who are engaged enough to come out and vote, that this is a good next step for the community.
I think that's a better way to say it, majority twice, as opposed to.
Yeah.
Yeah. That seems to make sense, you guys, Maria, is that kind of satisfied, at least we're addressing it without getting into the weeds?
Yeah.
And
I just
here's
think.
the website for all the weeds stuff.
Yeah.
Here's even put the town charter, whatever that paragraph is.
Right, so I just think, we're reaching 2 groups of people that have been in this town, a very long time and are familiar with the processes, because this is sort of a change to that familiarity. And, what has been done in the past, and then we're also reaching new people who, again, are gonna look at the charter and be like, why do we have to come out twice? And that just, it is,
Yeah, because
It is what it is.
I think it explains to people who are not familiar with this, which is probably the majority of voters.
Yeah.
And,
I think of myself that way,
it's
like,
screw it, why are we having 2
why-
elections
why?
and 50%?
Right.
And then we can go to this website, here's what our town charter says, you have to work within the law, blah, 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 blah. That's all that stuff. And
Right.
saying, this is why we have to do it.
yeah.
Sort of saying, the first vote doesn't count, but the second one does. Trying to explain that, and why, then you have to explain, why do we have that, and that's another story, you don't wanna get into that, because that's all political stuff. To do it, so, Stephen, just saying, you and I, we can, or Maria, just put together a is they'll put a link directly into that, in the charter, or that section of the charter, it says why we have to do that.
Yeah, we can put that we can make a one-pager for the website as well, cause it can link right out to E-code, so people can
Right,
actually look
right.
at the exact step, place in the charter.
So for some clarification, Nika might have,
I was just gonna suggest that the term supermajority be used for the first vote, and simple majority for the second vote. Supermajority 67%, simple majority over 50%, and that is confirmed, so.
Thank you.
Great.
Yep, super majority greater than
67%,
67%.
so it would be 66.7 vote.
Yep.
Good. Well, I'm glad it's going in the newsletter, because we
Or
definitely want to
simple
get that
majority
out.
twice.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a
What's the
surprise.
time period between knowing it go to a second vote, is it 3-4 weeks?
No, it has to be no sooner than 7 days, but no greater than 14 days. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's like, this will be your voting day for the next 2 weeks, you know?
And then you have to come back and vote in the general election the week later.
Oh, yeah, then there's that. Well, maybe you could early vote and vote the second
They have
time.
to tie up the machines for 2 weeks or something.
We,
If
so
they-
that,
if they stay
we
on-
spoke to our registrar of voters and we do have enough tabulators to reserve two for a second
We don't wanna
referendum.
get into that.
Yeah, that had to be looked at before we even knew that if we had that option.
So we're asking people before Thanksgiving to come back again and vote, or it's gonna be after Thanksgiving?
No.
Well, it's all
It'll be
before
before
election
election
day.
day.
Right? Do we have tentative dates yet or not firmed out?
So bond council was putting that together, the
Yeah.
calendar of both of them, and so potentially the first one would be the week of, it's October 10th, at some point during that week.
Yeah.
And they're working around the Secretary of State schedule, because then some tabulators have to be certified then and then held for 2 weeks before the election, so they're working with the Secretary of State's dates. But we're looking at the first one being the week of, I forgot what that Sunday is, the 10th.
Sunday's the 11th.
The week of
Yeah.
Sunday, the 11th is the
Okay.
first one.
Probably the week of the 25th, probably.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay.
Can it be done after the election? You feel between the election and the 15th?
Well, our charter says it has to be between 7 and 14 days from the first.
What were they thinking?
And the application says it has to be done prior to
Really?
election day.
The application, and that's what I'm confirming with Jim, that's what he said the application had, but the, school construction statute from the state of Connecticut says that we have until November 15th to submit our referendum results. So I'm just clarifying which one, did we technically have until, but our charter says it has to be within 7 to 14 days, so that made that not matter
Yeah,
anyway.
right, trumps.
I mean, as challenging as this is, in some ways, I think it's easier to wrap my head around 2 October dates
Mhm.
than if it were like an October and a November date, like that would, it's like, there are gonna be 2 times you're gonna, if you want, wherever you stand on the school
Right.
school building project, you're gonna need to show up twice,
Correct.
to express your opinion.
Or very, very, very strongly once.
Really super strongly. If you wanna take that next Tuesday off, show up, So, yeah, and and the reality of course is too, if that first referendum does not hit 50%,
And that's
there
it.
will not be a second
Yeah.
referendum,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be the second referendum, or second vote, getting people out, is gonna be the communication, getting the voice out, because, and I don't know if we should even entertain putting that second date even in the newsletter or something official, knowing that we're gonna have to do it anyway.
Well, we won't
Just
have
let
those
me
dates
think
for
about
this
that, or
newsletter,
just
but,
If people hopefully will come out, because I'm just taking a shot at this, I think the second voter turnout's gonna be lower than the first. And because people say they're gonna vote on this, and if you're not aware of this is a huge communication issue.
Right.
And
I
you
can
can just
also
drop
see
off.
people
It
talking
is
about
possible, you get a little 50% approval, but the no votes are just gonna, yeah, we're on top of it.
Well, although what's interesting is because early voting will start, there will be some folks who will be coming out to vote in the midterm elections,
Right.
who in a sense could also vote at the same time, potentially. I don't know, I mean, I think I think part of this will be the role of the PAC.
To remind you, right, I
To
mean, at that
remind
point.
people and to come up with clever
Very active.
slogans like, vote twice for Beecher. Something, I don't know what it is, but,
Yeah, vote
I
twice
hope
for
they're
Beecher.
really creative and can come up with some good stuff to,
Yeah, it's
make
I'm
the
just
thing.
looking at, the average voter sitting there, why are we doing this, okay, kind of explained it, it's still confusing. And when is this date again?
Right,
I
although,
mean, it's not a worst case scenario, it's like, it's just a realistic one that, by just, trying to explain this, number one, and number two, getting someone on the second vote, it's gonna take a little bit more of an effort, and assuming people are gonna remember to do this.
right, I will say though, I mean, my understanding, cause this predates my attention to town or my time in town, but, my understanding is the firehouse, that was a 2-vote. What was the library, was
The
a
library,
2-vote?
right.
So there is,
It's
for the
done.
older residents, there is some awareness,
Yeah.
and you must have voted within
Well, but
7 to
the
10
question
days.
is, how many people are really gonna remember that? One person will, 2 people will, but the question
Yeah.
is, how many more are going to remember, oh yeah, I went out and voted twice for the firehouse, I went out and voted twice for the library. I think there's very minimal number of people
And that's actually
who are
part of
gonna
our.
remember that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Okay,
actually part of
good
our
point, good
communication,
point.
is to say that all the referendums, with the exception of one, I don't know how much we wanna harp on that and
I know,
explain that way, but.
not at this point.
Have gone to 2 referendums.
Right, I mean, it was, I think when the 2014 project passed,
62
if you
point
were in
something.
that
Yeah,
gym, like some of us were, it was like amazing. I think we were all so surprised that that passed with 62%.
I know there are rules that we can't communicate, right?
as an entity, as
An
private
entity,
citizens, we can't, but as an
like,
entity.
from the school perspective, can the school communicate?
Tell me more, what do you mean?
Like, can Mrs. Sherman send out reminders about the referendum? Is
You
that
can do-
something? Like, can the school communicate, don't forget to vote for,
Wait,
and like the newsletter, I'm just thinking about like the newsletter of how, because the people that,
Yes.
In our weekly letter.
One.
that
and the
goes
weekly
out.
letter, can teachers, like, I just don't
Okay.
know what the rules are on that, would that be, because the people that I'm assuming, most of the people who are at Beecher and teachers, they would be maybe more in support of building a new school, since it's their children that would benefit. I don't know if that's something that is a communication that reminder of, after the first one goes through, like, don't forget to vote, like, just the more visibility is busy parents moving in and out, like, having those constant
Mhm.
reminders. I just don't know if that's something that,
up until the quiet period, yes, during the quiet period, it's pretty strict, and we would.
so the school is part of that quiet period.
Yeah, anything with, public money.
Expending
Okay.
public funds.
Mhm. And then we do reminders in terms of, as long as you're saying both sides and date and time, but there's some, I'd have to reread, there's specific
Okay.
verbiage around school message systems and
Right.
et cetera, yeah,
So, the other thing that the state statute around that says is, if there is something that comes out regularly, like a weekly newsletter
Mhm.
from the town that comes out, or a newsletter that's going out from the town anyway, it can go in there, you just can't create a new one
Okay.
specifically for that purpose. But they've amended the statutes in the state a little bit,
Mhm.
to accommodate for social media, people can respond to social media, that's not considered using town money. And also, if there are normal communication processes that are going out anyway, so you're not engaging someone and paying someone to do something extra,
Mhm.
you are allowed to put
So like the weekly
information.
principals message.
And if you're just putting in, just a reminder to vote, you're not saying vote yes or no, you're just saying, hey,
Correct,
don't
it has
forget,
to just
there's a
still
vote
be
coming up.
informational
So,
only,
yeah.
yes.
Can I ask, is that, so let's say we know we're gonna do a second vote, so in that election day,
for a special town meeting and adjourn that town meeting to a referendum. So there has to be another meeting process that happens within that
So
short timeframe.
Is there any gap between the first election and then the town, getting kicked out?
7 days.
7 days?
Possibly.
So you said, we have 7 days of where there's no quiet period.
We're gonna have to get clarification on that because it's gonna depend on how soon bond council can put the schedule of when the Board of Finance and Board of Selectmen have to meet again to call for another town meeting. So I'm gonna have to get back to you on that timeline. There may not be a break in that.
Yeah,
We're gonna have
that's
to-
what I'm thinking about, what,
Yeah.
there's a break in it, there's some activity to go on, but there isn't, that the quiet period just continues, and we
Right.
at least know that for another 3 weeks.
Yeah, we will have to get clarification. It's entirely possible that there will not be.
It would sound unlikely if there's 30 days and then we're gonna, now you have 7 days in between votes, but we have the PAC, so we'll have to.
But the
Right,
PAC
they'll have to
works
get the
on it.
information out,
I
yeah.
think the PAC really has to understand what we're in store for here,
Yeah.
because they're gonna think the first election, well, we're done, in this 2-week period, that they really are designing around the second referendum. Not around, I mean, the first one, you wanna get the vote out, the
Mhm.
second one is, we really need you to come out.
So we could also be hopeful that we're gonna get 66%, so.
6.7.
Yeah,
And that's a repeating decimal, by the way.
Yeah.
so-
That's what we're,
60-something.
that's what we're pushing
Seven,
for,
seven, seven, yeah.
to make history and pass on the first round and beat the 62%.
This all reminded me of the movie Odyssey.
Yeah.
The journey took forever.
Oh.
To get there.
Unprecedented things have happened in the past.
Yes.
Like the whole thing.
Anything's
Built and
possible.
wasn't actually approved.
We can dedicate to new buildings and an elevator.
We have a timeline, we have some modification of the copy. You generally agree to the content, unless you wanna go through it. I mean, obviously, we can go through it again with a big solid approval, the names are spelled right, the meeting dates, the timeline. Cause once we have this timeline, there's 2 dates, then that explains up front that, why we're having, as Stephen laid out, why a charter, why we're gonna be having probably 2 referendums.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay, we can discuss this later.
Yeah, I think we're on the right track, and like you said, just need some fine tuning.
Yeah, it's, I wanted to, keep the information flowing. And it's just, to me, it's just a constant reminder to residents there that this is going on. And, here's our input, and all the transparency's there, here's what we're doing, here's what all of us are, and it just minimizes the nonsense talk, that, we're bamboozling you guys, and of course, that's not the case at all.
Okay.
Okay.
I think another, when we do some presentations, Stephen, we'll work this through on a slide deck. We really need to lay out, if all this fails, how we're losing money. There's this case there that, we're spending all this money to try to save this building over the next 30 years, and it's actually gonna cost more. I mean, we have it in the slide deck, but I think we really need to focus on that, because people need to understand pay now, pay later.
Oh, yeah.
We
No,
gotta make a
yeah.
stronger case that you don't wanna go this route.
Right.
Even though we're mentioning it, we really need to, it's the boogeyman stuff, so we really need to make it clear that, why this is unacceptable, is to keep saving this building, but it's gonna end up costing us more, and it becomes a depreciating asset. So what do we do at the end of 30 years? We're gonna have to do something, and it's gonna cost more, so we're paying double for a building we could have had right now. And so I think we need to make a strong case for why it's stronger. That's actually a cost saving, even though it's costing you more now, or it's gonna be adding some cost to your taxes, the investment is worth the return, because it's gonna actually end up costing you more.
Right, and I think that's, putting that together with what the capital improvement projects would be for the school, and then, of course, we have to find space.
Yeah.
And so, I think any presentation we start going out there, I would emphasize that a little bit more, Marty.
Yep.
I mean, we can talk about, here's what it is, or it's gonna cost, but we have to give that alternative about,
We will work on that, Ira. Thank you for your report. We'll look over the newsletter. All right, so our community visibility. As I said, we're gonna continue on with the Concerts on the Green. Right now, we have some meetings, tentative dates for August 4th and August
wanna sign
18th,
up?
which is our
wanna
normal
sign up?
Tuesdays. Right, if you wanna sign up for the Green, sign up. It's a fun time, you get to listen to some good music.
And the first night we were there, it had been postponed from Tuesday to Wednesday. We had very, minimal interaction with people, but last
think
week
it
there
was
were a
good
lot of
amount of
people who
people
came
came
up
up.
and talked, to the people who were, the committee members who were there and asked questions, so that was great. I think the first week, because it was a change date, there were,
Threw everything off.
threw it off.
Yeah.
It says 5:30, but also 6 to 8, what time? you
Right,
want to
the
be there? 5:30?
concert is 6 to 8, but we try to set up early so that people who really wanna listen to the music,
Right.
there's an
Okay.
People show
opportunity,
up
they
early,
can
get
come up
settled,
and, talk to us prior to the music starting.
There's actually a good volume of music where you could still talk to
Yeah,
someone.
yeah.
So,
Yeah.
nice. So we'll do that. I think, some of the complaints are we don't have enough weekend meetings. I think we should probably try for another weekend meeting in August, September, just to be available for people for open forums. So we can check the calendar, see what's available, see who's available.
And get those dates on the.
Yeah, get them out when we send out the newsletter.
If we're gonna do anything with the senior center,
Yep.
like for September, their calendar of events goes out to their list, like the middle of August. So we
Right.
can talk to them before their August newsletter goes out so that it can be advertised with, like if we do something, because I know we were talking before.
I think
about
by the
something.
15th of August,
at
their
the senior
newsletter
center.
will
Right,
go
we'll
out
get
for
that date.
September.
Do they do, what do they do, lunch twice a week there? Is that what they do? I'm not familiar with. What's their schedule? Does anybody know, like lunch-wise?
Are you looking
or-
at
No, I'm
me?
just asking.
I know for sure it's one morning, I think it is twice a week.
Yeah,
Twice a
I
week.
wanna
So-
say Tuesday, Friday.
So it sounds like that's probably the best time to visit them, maybe during lunchtime, or do they get, anybody know if they get more activity
Or that's
later
dinner.
on? Yeah, so
Yeah.
maybe if we,
We can have a call.
even if we need to do 2 in a week, if they tell us there's different crowds that come,
Yeah.
schedule in 1 week, 2 of them. So, all right, I'll reach out to the senior center. see
Mika,
what we
when
can
you do
set up.
yours, is it a luncheon day?
It's, no, it's gonna be, matter of fact, probably moving it to 9:30 in the morning on the day of the.
Like a
board of
coffee
Yes.
type?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's
All right,
even a
so,
possibility.
yeah,
Yeah.
we'll find out what the most active time of day is and day of the week, and we'll make sure we set up at least one, if not a couple there.
Yeah, and if we can set that up before they send their September newsletter out.
Which would be
so we
like
know
by
it's-
August
Yeah.
15th.
Yeah.
So,
Keep in mind that public newsletter that goes out to every resident generally is put out at the end of the month. There's not one for August, but there will be one for September. So it's important that if you have information or you have activities that you know are gonna have, go on, that you let Tony Belinsky know, I'd say at least a week to 10 days before the end of the month.
Okay.
So she can put it in for the next month, so that way when somebody gets it in there, everybody gets that. That's something that's mailed to everybody's home.
So there'll be one going out at the end of July, you say not one in August?
Not one in
Okay,
August.
so we need to get in end of July, some meeting dates for the
Correct.
newsletter, so we'll make sure we get in there.
Actually, quick question, Maria, do we know, given the referendum date of the 13th, is the
Well,
bond council?
of that week, I'm not sure.
Potentially, or
exactly.
somewhere in that week. I mean, I think I picked that because it's like Tuesday, I think of Tuesdays as election days, but do we know when our quiet period will start vis-a-vis whatever the
Yes.
referendum date is?
The state statute says when the Board of Selectmen, you can schedule the date, but not until the Board of Selectmen calls for the meeting. So that special meeting of the Board of Selectmen, when we call for the special town meeting, is when the quiet period starts.
Yeah, so it's not even when the town meeting occurs, it's when the meeting is called. Is that right?
Yes,
Okay,
because you're calling and setting the dates.
okay, and that begins the quiet
Is
period.
there a
Correct.
minimum timeframe though, like a week, 30 days,
They're-
or just when you
They're
call
putting,
for the
I'm waiting
meeting?
for their guidance
For
on
the
that.
final, yeah, so we need the final blessing for it, so.
We need the final legal blessing, yes.
Ideally
Jim?
sometime before October 1st.
The charter requires that a vote, that these matters are put in front of the special town meeting.
Yeah,
It is, then you can move from the special town meeting to a referendum. You can opt, the Board of Selectmen can opt to do that.
yeah,
So it's, and that can be done, we're confirming that we suspect that it can be done at the same time. So you call for a special town meeting, at which point in time you give out information, but the referendum is scheduled subsequent to that.
Yeah.
And so, and the timing is all being considered. The only other thing I wanted to mention was whether or not this group would entertain potentially scheduling a tri-board meeting again as a means to share some information, because that seems to gather a lot of people together as well.
yeah, I think we should. And then we also talked about, visiting the other boards and commissions.
Right.
So we'll have to get on their meeting schedule, figure out their schedules, so we'll put that,
Thank you.
get that set up as well. But yeah, definitely a tri-board meeting.
And I imagine that would have to happen in September.
Right,
At some point.
Not a lot of meetings in August, I'm guessing.
So does a postcard get sent out saying
For the special town meeting.
special town meeting,
Yes.
right?
Mhm.
And that has to go out how many days prior to?
5 to 30, not before 5 and not greater than 30.
Okay, so we have our regular meeting dates for August right now, 4th, 18th. Tuesdays on the green for the rest of the July. I will reach out to the senior center to get some dates for that. For September, we'll figure out a tri-board meeting
Tri-board
date.
meeting.
We'll figure out the meeting dates for the commissions we need to visit as well. And let's see, I would think maybe we'd do another open forum on another weekend in August as well. So I'll check with the library for some dates and follow up with everybody else as your availabilities.
Marty, the other thing we might wanna do, and I know Justin couldn't be here, this morning, but I know he lives, on the street right behind Beecher. We might wanna consider sending a note to the residents of Beecher, or maybe the residents, around the backside of the building where the construction would be, just to let them know, we're the committee, this, project is being considered, and certainly, we're here if you have any questions, if you have questions about, traffic or any, mitigation, what would happen during the construction period, please reach out, and that, we're here to support you as well. Just to sort of a heads up and a, courtesy to the neighboring streets.
I like that idea. I'll work on something, send to them.
Marty, Chris Sullivan can help you with that in terms of identifying who the abutting properties are.
Okay.
and Properties close by.
Okay, I'll visit her this week. To start the process. Okay, good idea, thank you. Public forum, would anybody like to speak? Going once, twice, sold. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion
All
to
in favor?
adjourn, or somebody, who made it?
I made it.
Steve.
Fair enough, second.
Thank
All right,
you.
all in favor?
At, 11:10.
All right, thank you all for coming, thanks for joining us. Enjoy the rest of the day and weekend.
Thank you.